Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, welcome. I'm Madison and I'm the content manager here at the Outpost. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar on how to work with government. We're super excited to get it going. We're going to start with a quick presentation from our speaker, Joey. He's going to give a few tips and pieces of advice and break down the government procurement process a bit, and then we will open the floor for any questions you have. So anytime during the webinar, please feel free to type in your questions using the Q&A feature, but we will also give space at the end for people to raise their hands and speak to Joey directly. So just to introduce Joey really quickly, he's awesome. He's a startup founder and ecosystem builder with a passion for connecting entrepreneurs to government opportunities. Previously, Joey was the chief scaling officer at Platform One and a pioneer at the innovation ecosystems at AFWorks and AF Ventures. He's continuing his work in supporting entrepreneurs and building businesses of impact here at the Outpost as the VP of Growth. So Joey, if you want to go ahead and take it away and say hi.
Yes, I will. Thanks. Zoom now, let me off mute. Thank you, Madison, for the great intro. I really appreciate that. That was super kind of you. So hey, everyone, nice to chat with you, meet with you today. I'll just be going over some tips and tricks on what it is to work with government. We're going to be talking from a very different perspective than you traditionally see of like, hey, how do you get through the acquisition process? We'll be talking about, how do projects actually work inside of government and what are the relationships that you need to build? What models do you need to take a look at? And so I would love for you to jump in for any questions, use the Q&A function so we can keep track of it a little bit easier. And or, we'll have about 10, 15 minutes here at the end to help answer any questions that you might have. So we're doing just a quick 30-minute webinar today to go over this stuff and here to help drive any engagement with how to work with government. So thank you. So 5 essential elements that lead to success in the startup world are actually pretty critical in the DoD space as well, right? Idea, team, business model, funding, and timing. So you'll see that for a startup, a lot of their success is actually based on the team's timing. And what does that look like in relation to their market? Do they come in at the right place? Is the market ready for them? Are people open to that idea? And the second part of that then comes together is the team and execution side. Excuse me. So do you have the right team in place that can actually iterate on product, deliver something in a meaningful time frame? And so you have to be able to figure out, hey, as you're looking at your project inside of the government, do you have the right timing? Is the government ready to take in that idea? Are they in a place to test out something new? Are they in a place to address a different capability set? Do you have the right team internally to the government side as well that's willing to jump in and engage and work with you on a project? Do you have an idea, right, that they're bought off on and engaged with? Does it make sense for the business model for how the government is procuring, acquiring, or delivering a capability? And then funding as well, right? The government has funding that is available. And so it's about, can you align that up with the work that you're doing? So some interesting ways to get across that in government, right? A model we had created was about focusing around identifying who your entrepreneur is who is that problem owner inside of the government that's going to be like, this is the problem statement that we need to solve. And how do you get after knowing those people, right? It's about leveraging the network, attending events, engaging with the stakeholders, finding the person that's passionate about addressing these issues. And then the second thing to take a look at is the contracting and legal piece. So who do you have on that team for that entrepreneur that's going to be focused on, hey, what are the avenues to put this on contract? How do you legally get this done? And then the third part of that is the organizational will. Do you have leadership engagement that says, yeah, this is a problem that we want to solve and get engaged? And then 4, like you're the tech partner, right? Tech product or service that says, hey, here's a new way to solve this problem. How do we get involved and engage with that? And then 5, I'd focus on resource advocates. This is really where you're going to get the funding in place to prototype something or make it scale. So as you're looking at engaging inside of government, right, the biggest thing you have to find are people that can relate to the problem sets that you have and then engage from there. So some key tips for winning federal contracts. I'd say the first step, right, is get your paperwork done. Your DUNS, cage code, those things take time, and you just want to make sure you get that out of the way. Get yourself in a place that you can engage with government, and they're not asking, "Hey, where have you done your registration?" and under all of those pieces. Second piece is start to understand the ins and outs of federal procurement, right? Which pathway are you looking to go down? Are you looking to go through a commercial solutions opening, a BAA, SBIR, STTR? There's many different options to go through inside of the government space. So you have to start understanding like what is the time cycle for those in your company. And then I would apply for relevant and targeted opportunities. You don't have a lot of time as a startup and as a small business, and I would focus your efforts on places that you can build relationships, understand what the needs are, and not just applying to hundreds of solicitations that are out there. And in order to do that, I'd say focus on building the meaningful relationships. And so as you're attending events, talking to those actual end users, those entrepreneurs inside of government, identify like what are their problem statements? What are they working on that they're trying to drive forward? And how do you build a future there together saying, hey, these are the problems that we want to go out and solve. And as you're defining, hey, these are the problems you want to go out and solve, you're identifying potential use cases for your technology. So look at that community, engage in the Department of Defense, engage with other federal agencies on what those use cases might be. Sit down and talk to them about it and figure out, do some customer discovery and figure out what their true problems are. So a few other pieces that you want to put into there, right, as you're engaging with the government side, is figure out the types of money. Different organizations have different types of money inside of the government of, hey, what can that money be spent on? Sometimes money can only be spent on operations and maintenance type activities. And those funds are usually only available for 1 year. You also have 3,600 funds, which are already T&E funds. And those funds are available over a 2-year period. So you have to understand as you're engaging out with an organization, what kinds of funds do they have? And then talk to them about what kinds of contract vehicles do they have? Are they looking to do a broad area announcement? Are they looking to leverage a commercial solutions opening? Or are they looking to leverage an OT? Are you potentially going to be going and working with an organization through the SBIR process and prototyping with them there? Your goal is to go through this and identify, hey, which contracting pathways make the most sense for you? And we want to help drive that success. And then, reach out to other innovation organizations, people with the expertise in understanding how to help young innovative companies through that process. We want to help drive success. And so as you're looking at this, right, pick one of these areas that you want to deep dive into. And as you're breaking into the government space, start understanding what these places are, or reach out to people in your network and friends and us to help you with that understanding. We're able to help provide some guidance and coaching on that as well. Wanted to also highlight the SBIR process. This is one of the amazing ways that the government is help funding R&D. So SBIR and STTR is available across multiple federal agencies. And usually that phase 1 is focused on that proof of concept. You're doing a tech feasibility study, and those contracts can be up to $150,000 to further develop out that idea. And then there's phase 2 funding, which is typically around $1 million. And that work is to be doing like the prototype pieces, validate that, hey, the work that you're doing actually has a specific component that can be executed on. And then phase 3 is about how do you take that technology and actually put it in place with people executing inside of the government. And so that's the phase 3 is sometimes a misnomer because you're not actually using money from the SBIR program. You're using money that comes from your customer as well. So a little bit about the Outpost. So our mission focuses on doing good. We've helped over 300 companies in this space understand how to break into government contracts. Out of those, they've won $250 million in contracts. We've helped sign 88 MOUs, and we've helped with the first ever strategic SBIR through the ventures process. And then we've won 4 TAC-FI awards this year as well. And we help companies land government contracts across the DoD space. We've worked with National Science Foundation, NIH, Defense Health Agency, DHS, DARPA. So we've worked across the board with different types of organizations inside of the military. And our goal is to continue driving success for the companies that we work with. And so if you ever choose to work with us or figure out what does that look like, we help from sort of beginning to end in terms of helping guide folks through the process. We help writing proposals. We'll help identify where you want to go inside of government, help with that strategy development. We help build the right relationships, make the introductions, and are really a guide through that whole process. So happy to answer any questions that people have. It's sort of the end of the presentation. Goal is to ask any questions.
Yes, feel free to raise your hand or type in the Q&A. We do have one question from Isaac. They're asking, how do government agencies decide what contract vehicle to use?
Yeah, so a lot of that, it can be dependent upon what authorities that organization has to make procurements. It can be the type of procurement that they're going after. So, if you're a small business and you're saying, hey, I would love to work with government, right? There's a lot of flexible options for how you can get to a small business, right? You can work with commercial solutions opening, right? That's focused on bringing in new technologies. You could leverage an OT that's focused on specifically prototyping innovative young technologies through this process. And so the contracting officer is really the person that'll decide what vehicle that they want to use. You can always help educate them and say, like, hey, here's an option for you to go down. And the super cool thing about the SBIR process is that it gives you sole source justification to work with any federal government user. And so what that really means is that you have an opportunity to go, the government has an opportunity to go directly to you as a company for that particular problem. And so we want to help guide them down that path because they don't always know that. And you want to help facilitate that part of the conversation.
Awesome. And David just asked if about the slides. So we will be sending these out to you after the webinar, the copy of the slides. Feel free to share. We just ask that obviously you don't present the content as your own, but we will be sending those out as a resource for you guys.
Awesome. I see some familiar names on here as well. So any questions folks have and people have seen and worked with in the past? Tim, it's nice to see you on here as well. Capella. Happy to answer any questions you might have and engage from there.
David is asking, oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
David, I saw that you were asking, hey, do we work with foreign-owned companies? We can, yes. It just makes it a little bit trickier for what types of contracts that company can get after. And so it's a matter of, hey, what are you looking to do and where are you looking to engage in the government space? Any other questions for folks? Happy to dive in a little bit deeper on any of the topics discussed today. Marco, Ben, any questions that we can help answer? Carlo, came in with a question of what kind of products are best for strong dual use cases that can be presented to the government. And so if you take a look at, on the government side, products that have dual use cases, I would say there's a fair amount of cyber technology, right? That's going to be useful in both the commercial space and the defense space. So if you have an AI ML technology that is helpful in rendering which target identification, right? Or identifying, hey, our stoplight's green or red. If you have technology that's identifying threats coming through a network and saying, hey, this is a strange activity. If you have a physical product company that's a new tire material for aircraft that can both be used on commercial airlines and military airlines. If you have a new type of oil substance, right? That improves performance. There are tons of different technologies that are out there. And we've worked with specific types of technologies that are like battery tech, generator technology, this like AI ML software. We've also worked with some services companies on saying, here's a different approach on design thinking, culture work. And so about all of those different pieces, you want to look at, hey, if there's a commercial market, it has a good opportunity to break into the government space as well, because the military especially is looking at dual use tech as the future. It's not about developing standalone technology. It's about finding the technology that is doing good in the commercial market and bringing that into government. Awesome. And Jeff, you had a...
Oops, you got muted, Joey.
Yeah, so sorry. About 4 or 5 slides back, there was another potential government partnership opportunity. It started with a P and was below the SBIR item. So I'll share my slides again. If you want to point out to where that was at, happy to answer that. Were you looking on this slide or a different slide? Happy to raise your hand if you want to come up and discuss that. Awesome. I'm guessing you're looking at the partnership intermediary agreements. So PIAs are traditionally done with nonprofits, and it's an opportunity for the government to work with another organization that they have common interests or goals to execute on. So they're partnering on the development of a specific technology or capability area, or they want to further research and development for a specific sector and want to encourage that behavior. So PIAs are used a lot by the DoD specifically to identify, hey, there's a university that we're looking to work with to further develop out X, Y, or Z technologies, or there's a nonprofit we're looking to work with to finding out other smaller capabilities. Those organizations can sub through the PIA and further develop out those capability areas. And then I see another question in here from David. You're a small startup right now, so you prefer subbing. Do we create partnerships? The model that the Outpost works on, we're in a place to help drive engagement with lots of different companies. So if your primary focus is on creating sub relationships with a lot of the primes, we can help introduce you to some of those conversations. And I believe that works well for companies that are foreign based as well, right, to start breaking into the market. And it helps with some of the understanding, how do you break into the supply chain issues, or do you need to create a US based subsidiary first? And what does that look like? Part of that, a big question of it is where does your environment look like for which country is your company based in as well? So Capella, you asked any advice or guidance on finding a memorandum of understanding, inferring here that you're asking for the AFWERX SBIR process. So the biggest thing that I would look at is finding people that might be interested in your tech areas inside of, I'd probably look at LinkedIn. There's, I know a little bit about your company and history here. So, right, I'd look at the Space Symposium and look at the community that's attending that event. I'd look at people that are in Air Force research labs, because they're focused on both the tech development for both the Air Force and the Space Force side. I would find and define a use case where people are having issues with specific tech area your company is working on, and reaching out to them, figuring out which events they're attending and engaging in that space. I know it's a little bit more difficult right now as a lot of things are virtual, but what I would focus on is, hey, who is going to go speak at those events? Can you ask for an introduction to those people there? Who is attending that? Who's putting on that event? Can you do a tech demonstration or engagement along that piece? And so you have to go back to where are the relationships you can build and what problems are people having? And so really look at, hey, what problem areas does your technology solve? And then who is potentially having that problem today? And how do you open that conversation with them about, hey, can I understand a little bit more about your problem set? Can you help explain to me what challenges you're running into? can you tell me a little bit more about what this problem actually is, right? Instead of approaching it saying, hey, we're selling something and saying, hey, this is exactly what we offer. It's about opening up that conversation, especially virtually, I want to understand more. A lot of people are willing to give 5, 10, 15 minutes of their time and understand and being able to share and tell you a little bit more if you're looking to learn. So I'd approach it from that manner of finding people and opening those conversations.
And I think in the Q&A section, someone asked, can you go deeper on the slide on what a typical engagement with the Outpost looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Outpost engagement, right, we're focused on developing and driving a conversation for companies within government. So you're going to get an account manager assigned to you. That is someone who's going to work with you on identifying which opportunities you want to get after and what do those opportunities look like inside of government. And we're going to identify like, hey, which proposals do need to be submitted? What are the relationships that you need to have? Who do you need to be having those conversations with? So you can help drive that success for your company. Right. So we are looking at 3 to 4 submissions a quarter because we're not a company that's going to go out there and spam dozens of proposal opportunities for you. We're going to work with you as a curated community and say, hey, these are the people you need to go talk to. Let's go have that conversation. Let's make that introduction. And then let's understand what are they actually getting towards and then grow from there. So we offer a fee for service. We have a retainer plus success fee, that model that we work off of. And if you're interested in that conversation, feel free to just put your email in chat. We'll follow up and set up an individual call to learn more about your technology. We only work with about 50% of the companies that come our way. We're usually looking for companies that are further down the R&D track, have had some commercial sales, and we want to work to help them break into the government space. And so our relationships, the people that we reach out to, right, it's about making sure there's a good fit on both sides. And so we're happy to jump in and have that conversation.
Awesome. Well, we'll give a second for any last minute questions, but like I said, we'll be sending you guys the slides as well as our information, and just reaching out as a follow-up if you're interested in talking further about any of these questions you had, or how we can get started with the Outpost. So that being said, thank you guys a ton for joining. It's really awesome to speak with you guys. Joey, I think someone is asking if there's a time frame that in-person events will start coming back. Do you know anything about the plan for that for AFWorks?
So I don't know when the government's planning to bring in-person events back. That's a great question. I think all of us are asking of like, hey, what does the current environment look like? I think a lot of people bring in-person events back as they feel safe. I just had 2 big events canceled on me this week as well. And the one in 2 weeks from now is still on. So I can't answer that question for you because I don't know. It's really dependent upon each community and each organization. And so Outpost will be doing some events over the next few months as we believe the environment in DC becomes a little bit more open and safe. So we'll be looking at doing maybe some happy hours or other events in the DC area. So I can answer that for us at the very least. You'll see us partnering with a few organizations and doing some happy hour events.
Yep. You can get all of that information. We share it on all of our socials as well as our email subscription. So you'll get all the information. But thank you guys again for joining. It was great to talk to all of you, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.